Hi there, I'm Mark Tops, and this is the foundational series of video interviews with industry experts providing you with the fundamentals you'll need for running a care business. What happens now? Does somebody shout action?
And action!
In this episode, we're going to be talking all things clients, the difference between private and council clients, how to establish your brand, and not only attract the clients you want, but how to keep them happy. Joining me today is Fae Mell, owner and founder of Kata Care, an organisation that provides a helping hand for care providers. Fae shares with us that your clients are your greatest assets. Build trust with them and help them share their story. Hi Fae, thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome, it's great to be here.
Looking at social care and business models, there's obviously local authority and then there's private. Are you able just to talk to me about the key differences between the two models?
Private clients self-fund and local authority clients obviously have a needs and financial assessment through the local council, local authorities and the government pay for their care. You know, finding private clients is a very different model to being able to find local authority clients. So I work with some providers who come to us for a lot of like tender writing services, which is the local authority route, and then they can come to us for, you know, marketing support as well, which is a great kind of route to being able to find private clients.
Obviously, looking at your business, looking at growing the private model more so, what strategies have you found that have helped that actually some care providers in their infancy could build on from what you've learned?
I think in the early days, while you're not spending all your time delivering care or services from my business, it's spending as much time as you can on social media, networking, out in the community, getting to know your community, thinking of a strategy moving forward, figuring out where your customers are hanging out, what you can do for free or cheap, because I understand budgets are super tight in the beginning for a small business. So for me, it was social media. A lot of my I work in the B2B market, but I understand it's a B2C market. So where I might hang out on LinkedIn, a great place to hang out would be Facebook, for example. There's so many different groups. We all see these local groups, don't we? Full of kind of boomers, which are a great, you know, they're the buyers, aren't they, ultimately, of care for their parents. So I think that's a really, really good place to hang out. And there's so much free digital marketing. Or you can pay £10 a month for something like Canva and you can make awesome content to post out there. Websites can be pretty cheap or expensive depending how much you want to spend. And then, like I said, getting out there in the community, getting to know your GPs, getting to know social workers, getting to know different things like, what does your local church look like? Or, are there any community centres where people hang out? Go drop off some leaflets, those kind of things. And that's going to give you a really good kind of base in the community to be able to find some private clients.
Absolutely. It's all about that market research and knowing the area.
In the instance, absolutely, yeah.
Working with some of the clients that you've worked with, are there any success stories of what's worked really well in those kind of foundational stages of going out there, putting their name out there and attracting new business? Yeah,
like everything I've just said, but then it's been consistent. I think what I find a lot, like we get a lot of phone calls saying, Fae, we've handed a couple of hundred leaflets out and we've got nothing. And then we kind of go back and say, you might want to start handing out thousands of leaflets to get one. Finding out in that first kind of 6 to 12 months what's working best and then up your game in those areas. So we work with a provider in the Midlands that within the first year they were kind of doing 700-800 hours. The last year they've doubled that and they're still doing the same things they were doing in the beginning and getting the team on board. You know, I think that's a super important thing as well, you know, and from the beginning employ the team who have the values that you want to have in your business and in the community. And then they're all, they've all got the same kind of passion then, aren't they? And they want to grow the business. It's not just a job. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right as well in terms of it's that consistency, because the second you stop, one of your competitors will then start doing it. They'll start filling that space and actually then you've lost it.
And it's so easy to stop. I'm guilty of that sometimes. Oh, I've got such a busy month. Right, let's put on hold all business development efforts But then really the business development efforts you're making this month are going to affect next month and the following. So you've always kind of got to, yes, it's busy, especially in the early days when you're a small business and you're everything to everyone. You're a marketer and you're a manager and you're also delivering the care and you're doing a bits and bots of everything. But eventually, once you've got to a point where then you can maybe hire a registered manager and then you can expand a bit more and hire a deputy manager and so on and so forth, you can step back and work on the business as a business owner. But it's just, being a bit of everything to everyone in the beginning and just being consistent.
No, absolutely. And in terms of those metrics to monitor, so it might be that you're doing leaflet drops into your local community, it might be that you're building those links with the churches and the community groups. How do you, or what advice do you have for monitoring kind of the return rate on some of those ideas?
It's just in the beginning, being consistent everywhere. And then something like a website conversion. You have a website, somebody sees the website, your SEO is great, or you pay for Google Ads or wherever. That's quite easy to convert because the stats and the analytics are there and available. And I suppose same if you go to church and you give somebody a leaflet and you tick the name and you're like, right, okay, Barbara, you're looking for some care at the moment. Barbara rings you up, I met you in church. That's quite easy to monitor. Again, I'm still in the early days of growing my business. I kind of know what works now and it's very much online. But I appreciate that might not be the case for some different companies, and it all just depends on the location of the country. The kind of, if you're trying to attract, say the older person's market, you're probably trying to attract their children. And again, I think a lot of them hang around on Facebook, don't they? Not LinkedIn, maybe. I think Facebook is the place to be.
And you are right about the return on investment and some of those metrics, because I remember when I used to be handing out leaflets, actually the amount of people that would call maybe a year, 2 years down the line because they'd put the leaflet in a drawer, and it's then when they need care that actually they bring the leaflet out because they know it's there and then give you a call. And actually that return on investment you might not see straight away, but it's further down the line.
Further down, yeah, exactly.
Whereabouts and how would an organisation go from maybe that kind of guerrilla marketing of putting their name in front of people to having clients phoning them for their services?
So I noticed that shift kind of probably 7-8 months into trading. And the key was, the first 3 months was silly hours, going out, constantly putting myself out there and my team out there. And it's all outbound business development. And then there's kind of a shift. And I think it's all about brand awareness and your reputation, making sure you're just doing an awesome job with every single client and asking them for feedback, asking them for referrals. I always think you don't get if you don't ask. You can always say no. That's half of my job now, just trying to get reviews and feedback from everyone. And even if it's constructive feedback, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, is it? Sometimes we do things that might upset people, but it's really important because then it's a learning curve for your business.
And you spoke there about capturing feedback, and I think that's really important because you can utilise that in so many ways, whether that's in a leaflet through the door or whether that's as you use it online. How important is digital marketing for a business?
For me and my business, it's been one of the best things I could have done, and we started it from the beginning. The first kind of decision we made were, let's invest in a really good website, let's invest in SEO, so that when people are searching for interim care management, we're at the top of Google already after a year. And the same, we invest in, LinkedIn, Facebook ads, all those different kind of things. And it just constantly means we've got different streams of referrals coming in. So it might be, we'll get web inquiries because people have seen the website, or we'll get a call saying, I've seen you on LinkedIn for 6 months. So I might not have seen the return from that post or that whatever I did. But 6 months later, I've had that phone call from somebody to say that, I've been seeing you online for quite a long time. So it is so, so important.
I want to talk about retaining clients. So it might be that you're a small business, you've just got 2 or 3 new clients. What are some tools and strategies that you use to retain them?
If I'm working with a client and they've come from another provider similar to us, and that happens a lot in care, it's finding out what was missing from that last provider? What do you want from us? What does success look like? So it tends to be little things, and it's the same in every business. We don't want it to be transactional. Okay, so what does that mean? We want to feel like it's a true partnership, not a transactional, you just come in, provide the care, and off you go and forget about us. Go above and beyond. Customer service is super, super important for us as a business. And I think, little things like, again, we don't do this, but a care company, instead of just going in to somebody's house for half an hour and just making them a cup of tea, sitting down with them, giving them the medication, why not sit down with them first and ask them what they'd like? Ask them how they'd like to make the most of this half an hour. Yes, I appreciate time is precious in a carer's role, but take the time to just get to know that person, because that will just mean the absolute world to that person. Continuously update the care plans, the personalised care plans. People change, people's interests change, and the same with my clients. Their priorities change, they're growing, thriving businesses, so what they might have wanted a year ago might look very different to what they want now. So it's just constantly working in partnership with your clients, really.
And in terms of keeping people informed, what would your advice be on how regularly care providers should do that? Should they be doing it weekly? Should they be doing it fortnightly, monthly? What does that kind of look like, those interactions?
See, it could. I appreciate individual weekly phone calls might be a bit difficult to meet, but there's nothing to say that you can't do a weekly mass email to all your clients, just to say we're here, any feedback from this week, all those kind of things, and it can take an hour rather than getting in touch with everybody individually. But yeah, ideally, if it can be, every couple of weeks, it needs to be regular. Obviously, they're having contact anyway, because carers are going out to the houses and seeing them anyway, so they feel like they are being seen and cared for. But I think it's really, really important for the registered manager and business owners to keep that relationship as well, as often as possible.
Please, you spoke there about the registered managers and the business owners, because I think sometimes you do easily rely on those care workers, because like you said, actually they're in there every day. And I think registered managers probably have that link, because they're obviously making calls around actually what does that care look like? Is it meeting outcomes and bits and pieces? In terms for a business owner, how can they become involved in kind of that, not operational, but so that customers actually know who they are and what role they play within the organisation, and that link there?
That's an interesting question. I mean, again, when you've had a package of care for a couple of weeks, a month, why not make the effort to go out and see that person with the carer, check in, introduce yourself, send out newsletters, little things like that with the picture on and the name and the face. And I get it's a busy job owning a business, and sometimes things like that go by the wayside, but it's just making the time to pick up the phone, 5-minute conversation in between those calls to say, hey, it's me, I own the business, just want to check in, see how the carers are doing, just want some feedback as a business owner, can I come out and see you, those kind of things. And it's achievable even if it's once, twice a year.
I think in that kind of early foundational stage of growing your business, that is key, because actually that's what's going to set you apart from every other care organisation, actually having those small personal touches.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of, or what I find as well, I work with a lot of small domiciliary care providers. The owner is the registered manager until a certain point, and then they go, okay, I'm too busy now. Now I need to hire a registered manager so I can focus on the business.
If your values are actually that really personalised, intimate care, actually being a small provider, you can still make a good return on investment and a really sound business model out of that, but actually you don't have to scale up really quick, and you can get those bits and pieces and your foundations absolutely right before you do make the next wave. Yeah. What advice would you give if you've got somebody that is very hands-on as a registered manager, they've employed a registered manager, about how they take that step away from that kind of everyday operational? Because I've been there, it's very hard, but what would your advice be there?
If you're employing the right person, put your trust in your registered manager just as you put your trust in your carers and your seniors. If you're there in the thick of it in the office trying to step on your manager's toes, that's what it will come across as. So yeah, make time to work with them. especially in the early days, if they're a new manager, you know, it's absolutely worth kind of spending time with them to make sure their quality of work matches your quality of work. But yeah, take a step back, focus on different things, make a plan, marketing, networking, all those different things if that's what you're focusing on. Yeah, because I've seen it where it can end badly, where, you know, they've been the registered manager, and I totally understand because I've been in this position where it's my business and my baby and I manage it, and I found it really hard to let go of certain parts. And still to this day, sometimes I still let other people do things and then go and check it after, and I'm like, why am I doing that? And I get why people do that, because they're just so precious about the business. But it's trusting people, giving people the resources and all the tools that they need to do the job, and just trust them to do it.
What tools or techniques do you use to hand over or to be able to switch off, but to have that kind of communication feed with your team, or to be able to check remotely?
So again, right at the beginning, I wanted to make sure we were not relying on spreadsheets and paper. So we made sure we got a really good kind of customer management system in, and I'd recommend that for any care company, to get a really good care management software in, so that everything you can just log in, you can see what's going on. So we invested in that, and we've kind of tried and tested a few different things. So we have WhatsApp groups, and sometimes we text, and we use a system called Slack, which is a really, really good kind of communication system for work, and you can link in lots of different bits of tech. So we use that. That's kind of in there now, which is really, really great. And yeah, you know, emails, I always have emails on my phone. I don't encourage my team to, if they don't want to. You know, if I say to my team, if you want to work 9 to 5, if you want to work 10 till 7, we're a very flexible workplace. But I want to, because it's my business, so that's understandable. But yeah, so there's always a means and ways of getting in touch with people and with me. And then in terms of a handover, you know, ensuring, right, everything's up to date on our system. These are the notes. So notes are fully up to date. So we know you don't have to text me while I'm on holiday, or I don't have to text you while you're on holiday, because you've given me a really good handover before you go away. So we're all just kind of on the same page. And, you know, meeting each other before we go away, after we go away, once, twice a week. We have kind of huddles. So we'll have like a Monday morning huddle where we set the tone for the week, see what everybody's up to, because we've all got very different functions in the business, as most businesses do. And then kind of catch up later in the week to see how it's gone, see if there's any more tools or resources needed, and that kind of thing.
Conscious of time, and we're coming to the end. Okay. What one piece of advice would you give to a new domiciliary care business trying to establish a client base?
Oh, okay. One piece of advice.
You can give more if you want.
Yeah, it's going to end up being more than one. Think of a strategy. Think about your community and the type of people that are in that community, and find out where they hang out and spend all your time there in the early days, because you're not going to be delivering the care. So you can spend 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day. I understand if you have another job, because a lot of people do, to pay for these businesses. But yeah, hang out there, whether it's online, whether it's in church, whether it's in the local community centre or a charity shop or wherever it is, and spend your time there. And within no time at all, you'll have 2 or 3 clients on board.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.